Welcome back to LegitStreetCars. My name is Alex, and in today's video, we're going to be installing this, and hang on, we're also going to be installing this right here, and hang on, we're also going to be installing this guy right here, and we're also going to be installing, oh Jesus, all right, I can't do it. We're putting E55 AMG brakes on my 2005 E320 CDI. And apparently, I really got to start working out. Jesus. All right, so excited. All of my parts came in for the E55 AMG brake swap on the CDI. And what you're gonna see in this video applies to anybody out there that has a rear wheel drive 211 chassis car. Now, I believe the 4MATIC guys are gonna require a bracket for the front, but I'm not 100% sure. So if you guys know where to get these brackets, please comment down below and I'll add that to the description box of this video so we can help out our 4MATIC guys as well. Now, if you guys were around a couple of videos ago, then you know I got these brake calipers and a few other things off of a 2005 E55 that was basically parted out because the Mercedes-Benz dealership destroyed the engine in the car. So if you want to hear a crazy car story, I'll leave that video linked down below. Now, these calipers didn't always look like this. Just a few days ago, the calipers looked pretty nasty. And then me and the guys at the Chicago Auto Pros totally minted them out. We cleaned them up really nicely and they're even waxed. So there's a video coming out shortly on exactly how we did this. So definitely stay tuned for that. Everything else you see here, I got from my guys at FCP Euro. So we have some really nice Zimmerman brake rotors. We're using Akibono brake pads. You guys know I love these brake pads. Very low noise, very low dust. I've used them a million times and they work really, really well. We have our rear brake rotors, our .4 brake fluid. We have our brake pad sensors right here, and we're going to be replacing the front lower ball joints because, as I'll show you in a moment, we will be installing new front spindles, or at least the ones off of the part out E55. And check out these ball joints. They were basically destroyed on their way out. So we're going to put some fresh ones in there. And these are Lemforder mounts. I really like this brand as well. Very affordable, and they work just like the factory ones. I have no complaints at all. So this is the kind of stuff that I love getting from FCP Euro because they offer a lifetime warranty on everything they sell on their website, and you know you're going to be replacing your brakes all the time. You're also going to be replacing things like ball joints. So buy them one time and you are done. They are covered for life. All right, we are ready to get to work. SBC has been deactivated, and if you guys don't have a scan tool to do this, just simply pull the plug on the SBC pump. That is very important when you're working on any car that has SBC brakes. Also, just to let you know, the CDI is going to be down and out of commission in the garage for the next couple, 2-3 episodes, something like that, while we do the brakes and suspension upgrades, because after I put on these E55 brakes, I will no longer be able to fit my 17-inch wheels that I had for the car with the snow tires. So in the next episode after this, I think we're going to be installing the adjustable coilovers, and then I got to find some wheels so we can fit them on the car, make sure they clear, set the ride height and all that good stuff. So very excited about this part of the project. Also, big shout out to my guy John who got me this shirt. He bought my C55 AMG and then kicked off the tradition of license plates like this, LegitStreetCars CDI. He has LegitStreetCars C55, which is super cool. So thank you, John, for the t-shirt, and I hope you're enjoying my old car.
Missing someone with all your own. Missing someone with heart. How much you missing, and you deserve.
Wow, look at the difference. These are so much bigger than these, and these are so much uglier than these. Which brings me to something that I wanted to mention really quickly, guys. One of the main reasons I'm doing this brake swap is for looks. Now, I will be making my car go faster, it'll brake better, it'll handle better, and it'll look better, and I will be racing the CDI a few times a year for fun. but most people are not really exhausting the potential of their braking system. If you're not really racing your car, you don't necessarily need to do something like this. There is a lot you can do to improve the stopping distance in your vehicle. Things like replacing brake pads, swapping out your really dirty brake fluid, and to be honest with you, tires play a huge role in braking performance. So look in those areas before you do something like this if you just want to make your car stop better, unless you're into it for the looks as well. I'm trying to kind of duplicate a factory braking and suspension package that never existed on the CDI car. So I think this will fit the bill very nicely, especially once we get some wheels on the car and lower it. So something else really quick, I made a complete video that I will link down below on how to replace brake pads and rotors if you have a Brembo or fixed style caliper like this one. So if you want to learn all about that, check it out down below. But in that video, I also talk about products that I like to use on brake pads to reduce brake noise. So I just wanted to mention this one, ATE Plasti Lube. I use this on practically every car that I do brakes on. I'll link it down below. You put it on the back of the pad and it works really well at reducing noise. Okay, with the brake rotor and everything off, we can start to take a look at what we have to do to get this massive caliper to fit. And right off the bat, you see that these holes, they line up pretty well. And also, it looks like the brake hose is exactly the same. So we're going to be reusing the one on the E55. But let me show you why you do have to do some modifications to this spindle or just replace it entirely. This is one of the caliper bolts from the E55 caliper, and this is one of the bolts from the bracket from the CDI. As you can tell, they are different sizes. So basically, this caliper bolt would go in from the back side to hold in the caliper, and it won't fit. So basically, what I've learned is that you can drill this out in order to fit this bolt. That way you don't have to replace the entire spindle. Now, this may worry some people, and it worried me too. Like, are you gonna be making this area weaker? Is this gonna be a breaking point? So I did measure this up, and let me show you what I found. This is one of the spindles from the E55, and I'm just taking a measurement from the bore that bolt goes through, kind of like the thinnest spot, and we're at 6.4 millimeters, and we're at about 7.8 on the CDI spindle. So, sorry, this is upside down. So we definitely have more meat here. So if you were to drill this out to fit this bolt, I don't think it would be an issue at all. And I've heard of a lot of guys doing this, no reported problems at all. But I got the spindle from the part out E55, so we're definitely just gonna swap the entire thing in my case, but I wouldn't fault you if you just drilled this out if you couldn't find a spindle. Something else that I noticed is that you'll either have to modify this heat/dust shield to fit the new caliper. It hits right here and right here, or you gotta get one from the E55. So in that case, you would be taking the hub off, no big deal, and swapping out this shield right here. But I believe if you wanted to get creative, you could basically just cut it. Your choice, your choice. I would probably just replace it though. All right, let's get our new E55 spindle on, and then we are talking ball joints. The CDI spindle is off, and if you guys can get the E55 spindle, I recommend just doing that. That way you get your heat shield, you don't have to do any drilling, and this is just such an easy job right here. All you're doing is disconnecting from the tie rod, the thrust arm, you got your ball joint right here, and your upper ball joint right here. And I discovered that this joint is bad. It's actually pretty loose, so no big deal. We'll take care of that another time. And if you guys are interested in this little doohickey right here, this thing does a great job of separating the joints, and it does not destroy the boots. Some people say that these destroy the boots, but the key is to lubricate the boots before you slide this thing on. As you can see here, our boots are in fantastic shape. Nothing got ripped at all. No grease is leaking out. Neither on this one too. Everything looks good. So anyway, I will link that tool down below. Now let's take a look at how we're gonna replace the ball joint on the E55 spindle. Replacing the ball joint is no big deal at all, and I'm gonna set this up on the ground here, but I'm actually not gonna do it here. I'm gonna put it on the car. That way it's kind of a little bit more realistic for you guys. So we're gonna put everything back together and then replace the ball joint on the car, but I'm gonna set up the tool here so you guys can see it really nicely. So basically all you need is any universal ball joint tool set. This is a really nice one. I will link a few of them down below that you guys can buy. You don't always need all of these different cups. So all we need to do first is press out the ball joint. And what we're gonna need here is a receiving cup. So any cup that fits over the stud there, just like this. And you're just gonna screw this into your C-clamp. Once it's kind of close, you can put it over. Sorry, I'm doing this with one hand as usual. So we're gonna keep on screwing this in. And then once you get really close, you can use, okay, hang on. Okay, got my little tripod much better. So once you get pretty close, there are smaller cups like this one. So you just find one that fits the bottom of your ball joint, and then you tighten it up just like so. And then you just turn this screw. Don't use an impactor, you'll strip this out, and you're just pushing the ball joint from here through here into the receiving cup. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the spindle on the car. We're gonna install the big brakes and do everything, and then I'll show you guys how to set this up for the installation on the car. It's very easy. Check this out. So far, so good. The front brake swap was really easy. We just swapped out the spindle, and that's it. The brake hose was the same. The wear pad sensor wiring harness is the same. So is the ABS sensor. Everything swaps right over. Of course, we still have to install our brake pads. We still have to bleed this out. And I'm going to save the SBC bleeding procedure for a totally separate video because I want to show you guys a couple different ways to do this. But we will be moving on to replacing the ball joint on the car. That is the last piece of the puzzle up front, but because you guys are tuning in for a brake video, for a big brake video, we're just gonna go ahead and move on to the back, and then I'll do that ball joint at the end. All right, guys, out back should actually be way easier. Now, my original game plan was to replace the entire, wait a minute. Look at that. We got a broken spring back here. Cool. Replacing these anyway, next episode. So the plan was to replace the entire rear spindle, and I also got the E55 axles, but I was talking with the guys at FCP, and this makes sense. It doesn't look like the axles are gonna fit in this differential because it's just physically larger, so it's not gonna slide in anyway. So I'm gonna have to get an E55 differential for this car. So at the moment, we're gonna leave the axles and the differential alone until I can source that. So we're just doing the rear brake swap, and from what I understand, from what you guys are telling me, this is totally a direct bolt-on. We don't need to do anything with the heat shield or really anything but take these brakes off and put the new ones on. So let's find out. it's just that easy. This is a direct bolt-on, 100%, no issues whatsoever. If you take a look at the bolts here, this is the AMG caliper bolt. This is the one from the CDI, and if you line them up from here, they are the exact same height. This one just has a built-in washer. What do you call the bolts that have the built-in washer? This is just a normal hex bolt, but what is it called when it has a shoulder like that? Comment down below. That's something I've always kind of wondered. So something else that I noticed was, obviously we have a larger rotor here, so the dust shield does not kind of cover as much as it did before here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. See here, it's clearly sticking out a lot more, but no big deal at all. Take a look at this. This is an S65. And this dust shield basically doesn't cover the entire rotor at all. So this is a lot better than that, and it doesn't hit anything, it doesn't rub. This is perfect. Here's a comparison of the rear. You can tell we have a little bit larger rotor and a much better looking caliper, but my favorite part now is this side profile. Now don't mind the CDI being completely disgusting. I live in Chicago. It's winter and we use salt on the road, so I know the car is dirty. And yes, I did spill diesel fuel all over the side of the car. This wasn't my fault. I told the attendant what happened and he said he forgot to shut that pump off. He was having an issue with the nozzle, so I got to clean that off. But anyway, we have a CDI with an E55 brake swap, or at least half of a brake swap. I still have to do the other side and install these pads. And once again, if you guys want to see a video on how to just replace the pads and rotors on your Brembo style brakes, your fixed calipers, I will link it down below and it covers basically everything. But take a look at this. This looks so cool. Up front, we have a couple options. We can just replace the entire spindle. You can mess around with the heat shield or drill out some holes, whatever you'd like to do. And then the rear is a direct bolt-on, as you guys just saw. All right, guys, so everything is put back together outside of a wheel speed sensor and the brake pad wear sensor. You got to take the wheel speed sensor out so that you can easily get to the nut that's on top of the ball joint. So I did that earlier, but everything else is put back together 100%. So this is what your car would look like before you needed to do your ball joint. So you take your nut out and then take a look at this. Look at all of the room that you get just by sliding this whole thing down and over to the side. So now you have all the room in the world to mount up your tool and press the ball joint in and out. All right, so at this point we have the tool set up exactly how we had it set up on the ground. And we are just using a pretty big ratchet here with the proper socket. In this case, it's a 24. And this does take some muscle. You are pressing a ball joint out of a very, very tight bore. But you just got to keep on muscling through. You might hear some noises like that. That is okay. That is the ball joint just popping its way through the bore. All right, once you get towards the end, it's very easy. And then you drop everything on the ground. But here's our ball joint. It is out, and now we're going to go press the new one in. Equally as easy. And also, just to let you guys know, there is a full video on the ball joint replacement on the 211 done by a friend of mine, AMG Meister, here on YouTube. So I will link his video down below. He's got some good stuff, guys, so check out his content as well. The rest is all gravy. All you do is clean out the bore where the ball joint goes into, put the ball joint in through the top, and then go fishing through your ball joint kit to find the right cups. You just need a receiving cup for the bottom, an installation cup on the top. You tighten it all up by hand, and then you got to use a pretty big ratchet or breaker bar to tighten this up. But it goes in really nicely. Just make sure it's going in straight, and that's about it. Now after this, we are going to put some Loctite on the brand new nut. You preferably want to replace all the nuts in the suspension, but definitely put Loctite on them. And then when you're all done, it'll look like this. Brand new ball joint in our E55 spindle. Now I still have to replace the upper ball joint right there because that thing is really loose. A big thank you to FCP Euro for providing the parts, and a big thank you to the part out E55, who unfortunately had to die a tragic death to make this very video possible. With that being said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, share the video, subscribe if you're new, and most importantly, just put E55 brakes on every single car that you own. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you all in the next video.